Hello, friends. I'm Lea Slayton, and I am the Executive Director at Well of Mercy. And during the Easter season, I will be offering a short devotion every week from someplace out on our property. And today, I am out on the prayer trail, and I'm at the station for courage. So I've been thinking about courage this week, and I've been thinking about the disciple named Thomas. We often call him Doubting Thomas, and he shows up in a lot of sermons after Easter. And based on the lessons that I've heard about Thomas, courage is not necessarily a word we would use to describe him. But to be fair, all of the disciples had to return to remedial courage after the resurrection. Had the roll been called in the courage class at the cross, they were all absent. And then Jesus came back, and he breathed the Holy Spirit into them, and of all times for Thomas to be gone. So when the disciples tried to explain to him what had happened, it sounded crazy. And it took courage for Thomas to think for himself and to not just go along with what everybody else was trying to tell him. It took courage for Thomas to call them out as to how crazy resurrection sounded. And it took courage for Thomas to admit that he needed something more than just the word of his friends, no matter how excited they were and no matter how much he wanted to believe them. It took courage for Thomas to stick with his doubt until he had a first-hand experience of the living love of Jesus Christ. And Charles Jefferson of the Broadway Tabernacle Church in New York makes another point about courage. He said, "The world is inexplicably rich in courage, and at the same time, the world is also poor in courage. We are richly supplied with military courage, but we're deficient in civic courage. We can fight victoriously in the armor of Caesar, but we are awkward in the armor of God. The whole world is waiting for a higher form of courage." And you know what? He's right. And that's where we come in, places like Well of Mercy. This is where we dig deep into our courage as we dig deep into our souls. We find the courage to faithfully and quietly deal with hard things like grief or illness or some of the confusion that can come with life changes. We find the courage to be silent with God and to recognize that in this sacred relationship, we're not the only ones with something to say. And it takes courage to be in a place whose sole purpose is sole purpose. And that takes courage, because you just never know how the Spirit is going to show up. Is it going to show up with comfort or challenge? An invitation to rest or an invitation to action? Peace or good trouble? And our world needs people with the courage to seek out a real live experience with our real live Christ, however His Spirit blows in. So it is a beautiful season here. Things are in bloom. The quiet is all tuned up and ready. The creeks are babbling by and whispering sacred things. But be like Thomas, and don't take my word for it. Find the courage to come and experience it for yourself. And I hope to see you soon.